Alright, getting back onto the lifter deal here. Joe's been out riding his bike for a couple days now without an issue. So I've been thinking about what's wrong with these lifters, or what might be going wrong, I don't know. So I think it comes by, there's a vacuum lock in the bottom of these things, it's not clearing out maybe. So I talked to S&S for quite a bit on the phone about it, and their tech guys, and they say this can take up 15 minutes to pump up or longer. And I told them, you're stupid, you think I'm going to run a bike for 15 minutes with the lifters and beating a tar of the valve train. That's stupid. So, because basically when that lifter's not pumped up, you got probably 150 to 180 thousandths at least of clearance in your valve train. So that means every time that lifter comes up, it goes bam, it hammers your valve train. So it's like hitting with a ball peen hammer. Every time you hear that, it's like hitting with a ball peen hammer. And that just beats the tar out of your valve train. Why would you want to do that for 15 minutes? That's just stupid. So I'm going to look these things over and see if I can determine what's going on. I've been thinking about it. So this is the S&S instruction sheet for, this is their part number right here. So this is the earlier design, and this is the later design. This one has a limiter in it. This one here does not have a limiter in it, but the difference is the design of this valve right here. Now you see how it's got a square snap ring and this one has a round? That's not the snap ring. This one doesn't show the snap ring, but basically this is the early lifter here, which has the square on it. Where's my light at? There we go. So this has a square style snap ring. I call it more like a figure 8 shape. And the late lifter has a round snap ring. It's full round. So people talk about pre-soaking these for a day or 3 or whatever in their damn can of oil, or 20 minutes, whatever it is. These are full of oil they run on the bike. I think they're soaked. So, so anyway, so this is your two different designs. So this one here's the one that had that check valve in it. This is the one that has the flat, like a reed valve in it. That's that one. Okay, these are the Midwest lifters that actually worked. So this is the part number right there that they don't have anymore, but they do have it if you ask for it, if you're a dealer. These are actually the ones that they run in their motors. The other lifter they sell, the Kingpin, is not the one they use in their motor. So this is an older one I had for the last 2-3 years ago. I've had this one. This is the ones I just bought. So I'm going to take these two apart and see if there's a change, just like there's a change between the S&S's also. These are the crane lifters, which are identical to the early S&S. Pretty much. They're not identical, but it's the same design. It has a check valve in it. So there's a valve down here with a ball in it. So all of these will pull a good vacuum for seal. So it's not a leakage issue, it's a matter of getting the oil underneath the check valve, I think, is what it comes down to. So, damn. Alright, so let's get this apart and see what we got. So I got 4 different lifters I'm going to take apart, or at least 3. I don't know. This one was run. Yeah, I think this has been run too. Well, all of these have been run, so I'm going to take apart one of these, and 2 of these over here. This one here and one out of this bag here. So I'm going to take all these apart, look them all over, and let's see what I determine I find. So everybody has their own fancy way of trying to pre-lube these lifters. I don't think it makes any difference on any of it. So let's find out. After 5 days, we need another day of fun. Yeah, I got nothing better to do in my time. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is take apart a clean lifter. So this is the older Ultima lifter. So this has a wire lock on it, which I think is the same as this design. It's the same style. So let's try this one. This just takes the snap ring. If you put a screwdriver or Phillips in there, it doesn't do any damage to the ball seat in here when you put it like this. If you put a straight blade in there, you can damage the ball seat, scratch it. So if you hold that in there, it shouldn't be too bad. Now this clip's going to want to take off, and I have lost these before. So once you got it clear, get your finger in there as quick as you can to try to keep from losing it. Once you keep thumb pressure on there, it doesn't come out. Phillips that. Alright, so there's the type wire lock that is. So we'll put that up in the top corner there. Pull this all out. Okay, this has a different design. Well, this has the earlier design. Okay. So this is nice and clean, which is nice. So you got your spacer, basically your bowl seat. That little groove right there is your restrictor to your top end. That's the only oil that goes through to the top end to feed the rocker arms. This little flat washer here goes on top of that. And whatever oil gets through these holes gets back into this groove here, and then it works through that little groove right there. And whatever clearance you got in here is also a blow off valve, but when you got hydraulic tension on this, it should be 0. So that's what restricts the oil flow. Car lifters do not restrict oil flow, or if they do, very little. So this design here will be a little different. You probably have more grooves in this thing to let more flow past. And that's the biggest difference between a car lifter and a bike lifter, is the restrictor to top end feed. Harleys have very low oil pressure, so. Okay, so there's how much oil is in the lifter. It's a real light oil. Extremely light. Smells like kerosene to me. I think it's kerosene. Okay, so this has a spring on it. Big heavy spring. And I'm not sure how this is attached to this. It's not pressed in like the other ones are, so it might be welded. It looks like there's a little flange sticking up, so maybe it goes around the flange and that's what holds it. I'm not sure. I don't feel like taking it apart to find out, but there's a little flapper disc in there. So it's basically a reed valve. So that's how it works. Now, when people say that they pressurize these things or let them soak with oil, the oil is not going to go past that check valve with lifter's pressure. This thing has a tight fit on it. It ain't leaking past that. Whatever oil you're putting inside this lifter when you're soaking it, the roller's getting soaked, which is good for oil. And then basically it fills up the top of this plunger here to here, but there's no oil in the bottom of this thing to make it work. The oil that's in the bottom of here is your hydraulic action. This is what happens when you push on it with the lifter, with the push rod. You know, this air in here goes up and down. That's why it's not pumped up. If it had oil in here, that's when it's going to be hard. It won't go down. So you have to get oil down from here to here. And letting these things soak will not put oil into there. No way. So that's a joke. So if you pressurize the oil in there somehow, it has to get past this valve. How's the air going to get out? If you're trying to shove oil through that hole, how's the air going to come up? Push this thing up and down. Is the air going to come up? Eventually it will. But how do you get the air out of there? That's the problem. I think that's the biggest problem with these lifters, getting the air out of here. If you put some kind of a hole in here, a little small hole, like, you know, 5/1000 diameter, real small, then maybe the air will come out, but I don't know. I think that's the problem, is getting the air out of these things. There's got to be a way of doing it. I don't know how to do that yet. You know, if you put a little groove in here, a little leakage to let it come up, you basically can take a little file and put a file across that spot right there, real fine file. That'll let the air come up. That's an option. You know, as you push the oil in here under juice, the hydraulic motor's pushing oil down in here. The whole top is full of oil pressure. It's going to go through that valve when it opens up, and then air might come back up. So that might be a little tricky to do. The problem is, it's going to leak that same amount of oil the whole time the motor's running. So at lower RPM, the lifter's going to bleed down. You're going to lose valve lift, which means you're going to lose duration and power. So there's a trade-off in there. You want to get the air out, but once the air's out, you don't want to have any more leakage. So how are you going to do that? I don't know. But that's about the only thing I can think of, is put a flat spot on that thing and do that. Or if you got a wire NDM, you can put a 2, 3, 4 thou hole in there. That shouldn't bleed off enough oil to really matter, but when you got hundreds of pounds of pressure on there from the spring pressure, anything's possible there, and leaking oil out. So I'm not sure what to do about this, but I think that's the problem. It's just getting the air out of that lifter. So if I experiment again on it, I probably will play around with doing a flat spot, would be my guess. Put a really fine flat spot in there. Okay, this is the same design I'm looking so far. This is the new Ultimate lifter, the one I just got. So that's the old design. And you can see how the oil's in there. And the oil is not quite the top of that shoulder in there, but close, about 3/4 of the way up. This one here I dumped some out. See, it's about an 1/8 inch lower in this one. Once again, it smells like kerosene. Okay, so it looks the same to me. Same disc, same plunger, same thing. Okay, all looks identical. I'm claiming this is the same lifter. They haven't changed how they made it. Now, where these lifters are made, most everything from Ultima comes from China. This is an automotive design plunger. High Lift and Johnson lifters are two different things, but Johnson owns High Lift. High Lift is a performance brand. Johnson is a regular production brand. So they're all copies of a Johnson lifter, but I don't think all of them are made by Johnson, not by a long shot. So anyway, they're just what they are. Okay, so this is the old S&S lifter. Has the figure 8 snap ring in it. Now this has been running the bike and it was not working. So let's see if there's any oil underneath this plunger. If there's oil underneath this plunger in there, then my vacuum theory is crap. That's something I kind of want to know. Snap ring pliers. Okay, that's why I call it a figure 8 style snap ring. Because it kind of looks that way to me. Okay. These early ones have holes all the way around. I have no idea what those holes are supposed to do. The only thing they can do is spray an oil all over the lifter, so they're trying to lubricate the body here, would be my guess. Can't think of anything else reason for it. So this has 2 big notches in there. Oh, this is the one I worked on. So this is modified. So this lifter, we'll put it back together. 1 out of 4 has been modified. This is it. I'll be right back.